Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Neil.
And we are
Nerds Over 40.
coming at you from the upside down this week.
That's right.
So, Neil, how was your week?
That was another week.
It was another week.
Yeah. Nothing really too exciting. Well, no, we did see Tron Ares.
Like you said, nothing too exciting. I would give Tron Ares a B-, and that's being generous.
I think it's
maybe it's a C+.
I think it's a pretty good grade for Tron Ares. I mean, the last Jared Leto movie I saw was Morbius, and that was just one of the worst movies.
Okay, I will give Jared Leto a B-. The movie may be a C+.
So if you see the movie and just think of it as a video for Nine Inch Nails, it's fantastic because the music's really good.
Or if you're a fan of The Big Lebowski.
The dude does make an appearance.
Tell me that Jeff Bridges wasn't channeling the dude.
Yeah, he was definitely channeling some Jeff Lebowski.
I feel like Jeff Bridges is getting more Lebowski-ish as he gets older. Every commercial he's in, everything I see him in, he's just turning into full dude now.
He's just getting mellower.
I don't know if that's
older.
a bit he's doing or if he just is channeling the dude. I would watch the dude do anything, and I was kind of watching the dude do anything. I mean, the 2 minutes he was in the movie was the best part of the movie for me. I did feel like it wasn't covering new ground necessarily.
No, and try not
like the light cycle thing. I mean, we've seen it. I would say if you were a fan of the video game
or the original movie,
maybe go see it. It is something that I would say maybe see in the theater.
Yeah.
Because it's even going to be more lame on your TV. Because, at least for the special effects, you're going to kind of want to see it in the theater.
Yeah. Well, and just the kind of the experience of the theater can cover over a lot of ills, I think.
Have some popcorn. Take it for what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So do we have a nerd product of the week?
We do, I think.
We do. It's mine. My nerd product of the week. So I saw this online like a week and a half ago. It came pretty quickly, which is good because we're about 2 weeks from Halloween right now. So I got, this is one of my favorite Halloween properties, it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Every year Halloween, I watch the Great Pumpkin, and then we watch the Thanksgiving Charlie Brown, and then we watch the Christmas one. So, but this is made by Box Lunch. I got it from Her Universe. If you aren't familiar with those two companies, they both sell fandom pop culture products, and they're all licensed. None of this is a knockoff like you'd get on Etsy or anything. These are the actual companies licensing them. So this is my very, very lovely. Look at this sweater. It's the Great Pumpkin, and it glows in the dark.
Hey, and this logo up here, where it says Great Pumpkin, is actually that's real embroidered.
It is embroidered, and the quality of the sweater is really good. It's nice and comfy. It's not scratchy or cheap or anything. And here's the back. Look at the back.
Yeah, this isn't one of those AI things that you see.
No, this is legit. It's the real deal. The sleeves have the Linus's Sincere pumpkin patch on them. The buttons are pumpkin colored. So, yeah. So I am madly in love with the sweater. I have not worn it yet because I haven't had the opportunity. I am going to a work meeting in our corporate office on Monday, and I was wondering if it was like corporate enough for me to show up in this meeting wearing it. Probably not, but I love this sweater, and I'm going to be wearing the hell out of the sweater. And we are going to visit Neil's family in Colorado for Thanksgiving, and I'm trying to figure out if I can wear my Charlie Brown Halloween sweater to Thanksgiving. I mean, it's got pumpkins on it.
Yeah.
They are dressed as witches and things, but maybe I could get away with it. Your family thinks I'm crazy anyway, so they don't care.
There's a lot of craziness in my family anyway, so you fit right in.
So I can roll with it?
Yeah.
All right. So that gets an A+. Not an A. That's an A+. This sweater is awesome. I love it. I may wear it all year. I may just roll up in my Great Pumpkin all year long.
So I don't suppose Her Universe has stuff for men.
They do.
Do they?
Yeah, they do fangirl and fanboy things. Why, do you want a matching one?
No, but that's high quality sweater.
Yeah, no, their stuff is really good. They carry stuff Also, box lunch and her universe, like Loungefly, stuff like that. It's all your fandom stuff.
Yeah, if any of y'all have ordered stuff off of the internet, you know that sometimes the quality can just.
Right.
I mean, I've got at least a half dozen different ugly Christmas sweaters, and some of them are fantastic, and some of them are kind of,
Yeah.
cheap garbage.
I would agree. But if you're going to order from either her universe or box lunch, you're going to get a good quality product. And this is absolutely that. So I am madly in love with my new sweater.
Awesome.
I didn't wear it today because today, what are we talking about, Neil?
We're talking about Stranger Things.
So today, if you're not watching on YouTube, I do have a t-shirt on that says, "In a world of 10s, be an 11." And I have 11's Ego on here. So I had to go with the theme. Otherwise, I would have rolled up in that. And actually, Neil, what are you wearing first?
Oh, Hellfire Club, bought for me by my niece and nephew.
That's right. And we'll get to what the Hellfire Club is in a minute. But I would wear this next week. However, I will not be on the podcast next week. We are having our first guest host on the podcast. So you want to give a little preview of that?
So we're going to be talking about, it's going to be our friend Joyce, and we're going to be talking about Murderbot, which is based on a series of books by Martha Wells. But they had a Sony TV Plus series that was pretty credible. I mean, it was pretty accurate to the books. I greatly enjoyed that. And
both
one of the Sarsgaards was in it.
And both Neil and Joyce are Murderbot enthusiasts.
Yes.
I watched the series, but I didn't read the books. So I'm just going to be behind the scenes next week, and Joyce will be sitting in my seat next week. She's coming up to visit us to do some spooky Halloweeny things. If you're not familiar with the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California, they're doing a whole spooky thing there with a haunt. So we're taking her to that. And we are also going to Monterey on next Friday. And what are we doing in Monterey?
We're going to go see some comedian.
Hey, we're seeing my very, very, very favorite comedian of all time, Kathleen Madigan. Love her. I bought her beer, and Neil's trying to steal her beer.
This beer, she got 2 of them. She only needs 1.
Yeah, she needs both. But we're going to see her. She also has a podcast. It's a pubcast because she drinks during it. But she's amazing. So I'm super excited to have our friend come. And I'm super excited for us to branch out the podcast to new faces and new opinions. And Joyce is never shy with giving her opinions. So you'll see what I mean.
Prepare to drink from the fire hose.
That's right. So anyway, let's get back to this week's topic. This week we are talking about Stranger Things. And when we were trying to decide what we wanted to talk about this week, I think the reason why we decided to go here is because the next season of Stranger Things is coming out in a month. And it's been a while. When was season 4?
It's at least 2 years ago.
It's been a long time. So we thought, for fans of Stranger Things who maybe don't want to sit through 4 seasons, we're going to do a little bit of a recap. We've been doing our own rewatch prior to this. We've watched, I think we're in season 2 right now in our rewatch.
Yeah.
Right? So we'll probably get to the end of season 4 prior to 5 coming out. But for the purposes of this,
it's not a hard watch. So.
It's a great watch. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just kind of an overview of the show. And then Neil, maybe you can talk about how we first came to viewing the show, because he was the one who discovered it for us.
Like Columbus.
Yes.
And the New World.
And then we're going to do a recap of each of the seasons to get you up to speed or refresh you. So the TV show was created by the Duffer Brothers, and it was created for Netflix. So the Duffer Brothers shopped it around to a bunch of different places and got turned down a lot. When the Duffer Brothers were shopping Stranger Things around, some of the feedback that they got when they were turned down was this show is, well, it's horror, it's sci-fi, it's, how would you describe the overall theme of the show?
It's nostalgia. It's 80s nostalgia. I mean, it's got it's got some of everything from the 80s. It's got some comedy in there. It's got some horror in there.
It's got mystery. It's kind of got like a Scooby-Doo kind of vibe. The reason that the show kept getting turned down was not any of that, but the fact that it's a coming of age show. So the main characters are kids. And a lot of these other streaming services or networks were saying they didn't see a horror show where the main protagonists were all kids. They didn't see the vision. But Netflix did, and they let the Duffer Brothers roll with it, and it became just a gigantic hit on Netflix. It was one of the things that made Netflix into what Netflix is now.
Yeah, I think it was early on when Netflix decided that they're going to focus mainly on generating their own content.
Right. They're not just showing other people's properties that you can rent. I mean, I remember Netflix when we used to get DVDs in the mail, and then all of a sudden there's original content being released, and now that's more what they're known for. I mean,
I don't even think they do the DVD by
no,
mail
but I
thing
mean
anymore.
renting movies or not watching other people's movies. We do that too. But usually when we're watching Netflix, we're watching Netflix properties now.
You know, I don't
Except for Gilmore Girls.
think people give Netflix as much credit as Netflix should be getting, because I mean they revolutionized this whole streaming thing. It's a brand new form of storytelling. You know, television shows were episodic for so long, and recently you get some shows that would have more of a serial sort of arc, but then Netflix came along and you'd have a whole story arc told over 13, 14 episode series, right? And it really it gave you kind of the production values of movies, but with the storytelling that you can get from that longer form, a deeper, better story. I shouldn't say better, but just a deeper.
Yeah, Stranger Things definitely does not feel cheap when you're watching it.
Oh my goodness.
The production value is there.
Well, and speaking of production value, when I first saw the first episode or two of Stranger Things, I was like, this is Super 8 if Super 8 were good.
Yeah. I wanted Super 8 to be good.
If you guys remember Super 8, that was J.J. Abrams, and it was kind of...
It was a bunch of kids. It was a horror,
It was a horror, and it was...
it aliens in that?
There were aliens, yeah. And it was set in 79, I think, but 79, 80, whatever,
yeah, same
right?
deal.
But and you really wanted it to be good, and it didn't quite get there. But then when I saw Stranger Things, I was like, oh my God, this is what he was trying to do. These guys did it successfully.
They did.
And I'm not saying they copied him or anything like that, but it's just like, it's captured that essence of the 80s. It's captured, it has the feel of like Tales from the Dark Side. If you watch that movie, if you watch that show as a kid, some of that, some of those 80s sort of slasher movies are in there a little bit,
For sure.
E.T., The Goonies,
There's an actual Goonie in this. Spoiler.
That's right, in season 2. But you can peel back the layers of the Stranger Things onion, and you can see all the different parts that it came from. Especially if you're Gen X or older. If you're a nerd over 40, this is one of those shows. But my niece and nephew love it too. So.
True. All right, so back to the Duffer Brothers. They're the showrunners, they're the head writers, and they've directed a bunch of the episodes. So they really have control over the whole thing, which I think adds quality to things. I've seen things where somebody starts something and then they walk away and somebody else grabs the ball and takes it. And it doesn't always maintain the integrity that the original person who had the vision had for the show. This one, I feel like throughout, you feel like they know where they're going. For instance, one of my favorite shows was Lost. And I don't know whether Lost ever really had the thread or they were just kind of throwing stuff up at the wall. Yeah, let's throw in a polar bear and a smoke monster.
We loved Lost.
We did. No, it's my favorite show.
But
it's like you spend a lot of time going, what the hell is going on? And waiting for the payoff.
The people telling that story had no idea.
No, they're like, okay, let's introduce these people that have survived the crash from the tail. And then let's throw in this kind of like 60s cult.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on, and I think that I'm digressing, but I think part of the reason why people hated the ending so much was because they didn't wrap up like 70% of what they teed up. You're like, wait a minute, what about the polar bear? Like, or,
the black smoke. What was the smoke monster? What was that?
And like Jacob and like that. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that you're just like, okay, is everybody dead? Like, what's happening?
I mean, they had the only ending I think they could have had.
No, I liked the ending, but most people hated the ending.
Well, because that stuff was inexplicable because they didn't have a plan.
Here's a segue. We're about to get the ending of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So the next season that's coming out is the last season. So they're either going to tie it up well or they're going to tie it up badly. But either way, it's ending. So that's why we want to do this recap, because we're about to go into that. And I feel like the ending sometimes can make or break a series.
Endings are really hard.
Everybody hated Dexter's ending.
Oh,
I hated How I Met Your Mother's ending.
Oh God, that ruined the series retroactively.
That's what I'm saying. So I sincerely hope that does not happen with Stranger Things.
I kind of feel that way about Ted Lasso episode 3 or season 3.
Well, we're getting another
season. Season 4,
so,
but season 3 was it was disappointing, I thought.
All right. So speaking of the next season, the 5th season that's coming is going to be released in 3 parts, and I find the release dates interesting. So volume 1 is November 26th, which I believe is Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving
I think
Day.
The day before Thanksgiving. It's that week.
Yeah. And then volume 2 is December 25th, which is Christmas Day. So we can all ignore our families and watch Stranger Things.
Which, to be fair, is probably the best use of your time.
And then the finale is December 31st. So it's New Year's Eve.
You know, we've all got something to do if we don't have something to do.
If you're a nerd, that's okay, I'm good. I don't need to find something to do on New Year's now.
It's a perfect excuse to ignore your families.
We're going to have a New Year's party, invite a bunch of people to our house and have a watch party.
That'd be fun.
So anyway, we're back to Stranger Things. The show's set in the 80s. I feel like one of the things I really love about this show is how authentic it is to the 80s. I've watched so many things that are clearly made by people who think they know what the 80s were and how it felt and how it looked, who absolutely did not. Wonder Woman 1984. Hello. But this one, legit. Like, I feel like I've been in these people's houses. I've used this kind of telephone. I've been in this mall. I've been in this arcade. I've gone to this school. I've had these friends. I've ridden this bike. Like, the whole thing just feels like my childhood to me.
They got the texture right.
So as a Gen Xer, as a person of a certain age, this show just hit all the feels for me when it came to the time period. It was spot on. The general premise is it centers around the residents of a fictional small town, so it's not set in a real town, Hawkins, Indiana. And there's a young girl who has psychokinetic abilities, and basically she opens a gateway between Earth and this hostile alternative dimension that eventually becomes known as the Upside Down. We spoke about the pop culture references. There are a lot. There's Spielberg, Stephen King, certainly. The title of the show, Stranger Things, was an homage to Stephen King's novel. It was inspired by his novel Needful Things, which is one of my favorite Stephen King novels. It's kind of spicy. There's some sex in that novel.
Well, there's sex in a lot of Stephen King's novels.
No, but it was, you know.
I don't remember it being that spicy. But
other influences, John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Alien. Certainly the film Stand By Me. There's actually a scene where 2 of the characters are walking down railroad tracks, and I'm like, oh, if you don't get that as a reference, it looks just like it. It was
Stand By Me was, of course, based on the short story The Body by Stephen King.
And, jumping ahead, but I'm going to jump ahead, when the kids who were auditioning for this show were auditioning, they were auditioning using lines from the movie Stand By Me.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes. So the other overreaching theme, I would say, so you've got the upside down with the horror, and then you also have the 80s that's in your face. But there's also this government conspiracy experimentation, people being experimented on, given LSD, things like that. And there's kind of the evil government facility. So that's Hawkins
Yeah.
Lab, which is its own character in this show, and the people who populate this lab or run the lab, and what's going on there. And on the face of it, they're doing experiments for the Department of Energy, but what's really going on is they're experimenting with the paranormal and the supernatural with these human test subjects.
And they're totally amoral.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. These are like little kids they're experimenting
Well, and
on.
I was rewatching it the other day, and they killed this guy who owned a restaurant. They didn't even need to. It was so.
Yeah, they
absurd
could have just
over
taken the kid. And,
Yeah,
you know.
there was no reason to kill this guy.
Yeah.
But it's like whatever, you know.
Yeah, the evil government. That's definitely a vibe in this. The other vibe, I think, is the music.
Oh yeah,
You want to talk about the music a little bit?
Well, it's got that kind of 80s synth sound,
Heavy
to it,
duty synth.
which I think reminds me of the beginning of Tales of the Dark Side. If you remember that, that it just forcibly, the first time I watched it, reminded me of that.
As soon as you hear the theme song, you know like what time period this is going to be set in.
And then they choose some great 80s music to put in there.
So songs that are featured that are really part of the story, I'd say the main one is Should I Stay or Should I Go?
And in season one,
Season one, that's
absolutely.
big. Running Up That Hill, which I didn't really listen to. So one you probably listened to was Master of Puppets.
I did listen to some Metallica back in the day, and honestly, there should be a Nobel Prize for best use of a song in in media, and for that year, season 4 should have won it for using Master of Puppets in that scene with Eddie, because that is badass.
And a close second to that was the use of the Never Ending Story song.
That was pretty good too. That was very funny. Yeah, that was very cute.
My favorite use of a song in Stranger Things was the Never Ending Story. And a close second for me was Material Girl, because I loved that scene.
Oh, that's a good scene. Yeah,
That's
a good
maybe
scene.
one of my favorite scenes in Stranger Things was Max and Eleven go to the mall, and Eleven's been locked up, and Max takes her out, and she's like, no, we're going to go shopping. And they have a whole montage to Material Girl, and I thought that was really good.
Well, and you see a lot of boys doing boys things in the show. It's kind of nice to see girls doing girl things.
Agree.
in there.
Agree. And one of the things about these songs is not that they've been forgotten necessarily, but a lot of them, obviously, people are streaming Taylor Swift now, right? But many of these songs, when they were featured in Stranger Things, saw a resurgence in the sales charts on
Running Up
Spotify.
That Hill
yeah.
got a big boost.
Right.
I think Master of Puppets did too.
Yeah.
Which, come on, it's Metallica, guys.
Not for me. That wasn't my genre. But,
it's
you know,
fine.
we all have our own genres. So, I figured what we would do is just kind of go through the seasons. And there will be spoilers because we're doing a recap. So, it's hard to do a recap without spoilers.
And
but
for
I'm not
God's
going to.
sake, it's been out since 2016.
That's
if you haven't
right.
seen it by now, then shame on
Are
you.
you shaming our viewers again? Stop
Probably
doing
not,
that.
because I think they've all seen it.
Stop doing that. So we figured we'd give you just a recap of the seasons. So season 1 is where it starts, and it starts in November of 1983. So it definitely has kind of wintry, Christmassy. That's kind
Ooh,
of the
I'd have been
the
11
setting.
years old.
It starts with the guys playing Dungeons and Dragons. So a lot of us who were kids in the 80s played Dungeons and Dragons. Neil played Dungeons and Dragons, but then he got in trouble with his parents because they were part of this group that thought it was satanic, right?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of stuff out there, and, you know...
My parents never knew what the hell I was doing, and they didn't care that I
Well,
was
you always
playing
got
Dungeons.
good grades, so they didn't worry about it. My grades were mediocre.
And it
at
was
best.
Dungeons and Dragons that was holding you down?
Something, right?
Okay. So the guys are in Mike's basement playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, in the first
And
season.
that now they're going to head home.
And Mike was the DM, too.
Yeah. So now they're heading home. They're riding their bikes home. And Will Byers splits off from Lucas and Dustin, and he gets abducted in a wooded area out in the middle of, not in the middle of nowhere, but
They called it Mirkwood.
Right.
There's a reference to Lord of the Rings. So they called it Mirkwood, and suddenly he's riding his bike home, and suddenly a monster kind of appears in front of him, and he veers off the road and goes into the...
Yeah, goes down into a ditch, and he's vanished. By the way, November 6th is Stranger Things Day for Stranger Things fans. Do you know why?
That's the day he disappeared?
That is the fictional date when he vanished.
Oh, well, huh. I don't have... I should get a Stranger Things pin and wear it to work on that day.
Yeah.
Lapel
So
pin.
as May the 4th is Star Wars Day,
November 6th
is Stranger Things Day.
All right, guys, you heard it here.
And it's coming up, so
Get your
get
Stranger
ready.
Things gear.
I'll be wearing this shirt to work.
November 6th.
November 6th. So basically the premise of the story is Will has vanished, and it's the search for Will. That's basically what that season is about. So the main character who's headlining the search in the beginning is Will's mother, who is Joyce Byers. And who is she played by?
Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder. So again, 80s flashback, right?
It's great to see her, acting again, honestly.
Yeah, because she had some bad press for a while. Wasn't she stealing things?
She got convicted of shoplifting
Yeah.
and became untouchable. And it kind of feels like we, and I include myself in that, we kind of pile on our celebrities when they screw up. And so anyway, yeah, I don't know that she'd worked since then.
The Duffer Brothers wanted her because she has that 80s cred. She was in Lucas. She was in Beetlejuice, of course. She was in Heathers.
Heathers is a personal favorite of mine.
And the Duffer Brothers said that she was fashioned after Richard Dreyfuss's character in Close Encounters because he's believing in the presence of aliens and everybody thinks he's nuts, basically. Joyce thinks that she can communicate with Will through the electricity in her house and basically semi-destroys her house in the process.
But she turns out to be right.
She does turn out to be right. And when they were interviewing Winona Ryder about the character, she said she had to act as if Joyce was out of her mind, but she's actually kind of onto something. And so in the beginning, we're like, okay, we can hear Will too. We can hear what she's hearing. So we know why she's acting the way she's acting. But it takes a minute for her to get other people on board.
Yeah, she's not treated very seriously, especially by the chief of police.
Right. And we'll get to him in just a sec. But one more thing about Winona Ryder that I thought was interesting when I was doing my research was the one condition she asked for when she took this job was she'd been talking to Tim Burton about the Beetlejuice sequel. Yeah. And she said that when they were shooting, she needed to be given a break from shooting Stranger Things so she could go do the Beetlejuice sequel. And
maybe that's why it's taken so long to do season 5.
Maybe, I don't know. Well, I think there was not the pandemic. The pandemic, I think, affected season 4, but I don't know.
Well, the pandemic, I think maybe affected more than just season 4, maybe 2 seasons.
Possibly. So you mentioned who Joyce has to get on board with her to help with this investigation, the chief of police. So tell me about him.
All right. So there's the sheriff, Jim Hopper by David Harbour, who every once in a while you'll see him in something.
Hellboy.
That was pre Stranger Things. And it's kind of weird watching that because he's usually just a kind of a background player, right? Because Stranger Things was a star turn for him.
Yeah.
And he's really a fascinating character because he's kind of an asshole at the beginning of it. He's
not taking Joyce's concerns seriously.
Yeah, he's late to work.
What are mornings for?
Over, and mornings are for coffee and contemplation.
He doesn't want to be bothered with anything that's going on.
And cigarettes too, apparently. That's another thing that's kind of interesting about watching Stranger Things is people are smoking again.
It's the 80s, right?
You don't see that here, but or now, but yeah, he doesn't really take her seriously. She's kind of an annoyance. But what's really interesting about his story arc is that there's a competent cop.
Yeah.
underneath that kind of gross exterior. Not
Well,
gross,
he's had
but,
a tragedy, and it
Yeah.
takes us a minute to find that out. His daughter died, and I guess she had cancer when she was a little kid. And we see that in flashbacks as things go on, and you start understanding his character and the way he is more as you see his past.
And that his daughter's dying also messed up the marriage too. So he was he was divorced, and it shows that his wife has moved on. She's got another child with somebody else.
Right. So anyway, Joyce went to high school with Hopper.
Yeah.
And she's grown up in this town. He's grown up in the town. So she now is in crisis, and she's reaching out to him, and he's supposed to help her find Will.
But also something else, and I think it came out in a later season, like season 3 maybe, is it was the Hopper was a little bit in cahoots with the mayor about, the mayor chose him because he wasn't a dynamic, crime fighting machine. I don't know if necessarily cahoots is the right word, but the mayor was Carrie Ells, right?
Right.
And he liked Hopper because Hopper was, in the mornings he was only about coffee and contemplation. And
right. And Carrie Ells was pulling some stuff that, did not bear scrutiny.
He was taking Russian money.
We'll find that out later on. We're jumping ahead. So that's the beginning. Will's abducted. Joyce is very concerned. Hopper is investigating or starting to investigate. So the next thing that happens is a young girl escapes from Hawkins' lab. And that is our main character. So that's 11. And she is named 11 because she has a tattoo of 011 on her arm. She's shaved almost bald. She's wearing a hospital gown. And she escapes from this facility.
After she blows a hole between our reality and the Upside Down.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get to that yet, but that's fine. That's good. That's all good.
We got to move this along.
Okay. We're moving along. So she goes to the diner, as you alluded to, is scavenging for food, escapes out of there before the guys from the lab can come get her, and she runs into
Mike and the boys.
Mike and the boys, who are Will's friends. And they're all concerned because Will has disappeared. And so they find her. And so let's introduce Mike. So Mike Wheeler, played by Finn Wolfhard.
He's kind of the leader of the band a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's the dungeon master. Everyone gets together at his house. His parents are probably the most well off of the group.
And functional.
Yeah, so they hang out at his place. He doesn't have an annoying little sister like Lucas, so that's who's his next door neighbor. But
he's got a big sister, Nancy, who we'll talk about in a minute.
And he, I don't think girl crazy is the right word for it, but he definitely is at that age where he's starting to get interested in women. So anyway, Elle bursts into their lives, and Mike is almost immediately smitten by.
So there's Mike, then there's Lucas, and Lucas is Mike's next door neighbor.
Yeah.
And Lucas has a very, very bratty younger sister who we
love her.
We love her, Erica, and we will encounter her more in future seasons.
She's
but
sassy.
She talks a lot of smack.
Oh.
And then there's Dustin, who is my favorite
Dustin
of
is
the boys.
everybody's favorite. He's so adorable.
And he was also the Duffer Brothers' favorite. So when they were hiring these kids, obviously, if kids are going to carry a show, you have to have the right kids, right? So they went on a search of thousands of kids to find the right kids for this, except Dustin. So Dustin is played by Gaten Matarazzo. And he sent in an audition tape, and they selected him after a single viewing of the audition tape. He chews the scenery, and you will see when you watch the show, or if you've watched
He's got some of the best lines.
He's adorable.
She's our friend, and she's crazy.
I mean, you just want to pinch his cheeks. He is the cutest thing ever. He is adorable, and he has so much charisma. So those are our three intrepid guys who are trying to find their friend Will. So the guys find Elle when they're looking for Will. And eventually, through a series of events, they figure out that, first of all, she has these telekinetic powers. She slams a door on one of them who's trying to leave a room. And they figure out that she is aware of Will's presence in this alternate dimension. So she is now on board to help them find Will. And in the course of this quest to find him, they also figure out that there's stuff going on at the lab. Hopper does.
Hopper does, yeah.
And the guys figure out that these bad men from the lab are after Elle. So that's kind of how it's set up. Now there's one other event that tees this off, which is in addition to Will being taken, Nancy, Mike's older sister, is dating the popular guy at school, Steve
King
Harrington.
Steve.
Yes, Steve Harrington. He has really good hair.
We don't like him at first.
No, he's a dick at first. But she's dating him, and she goes to a party and brings her best friend, Barb. Now, of everybody on the show, well, the kids are nerds too, but Barb is one of us. Barb is a nerd, right?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking the boys are all us because they're getting bullied at school.
Right.
They're into Dungeons and Dragons.
But of the girls, Barb is the one who's kind of the nerdy girl.
Well, and Nancy's kind of the straight-laced. She's a little nerdy because she's smart and gets good grades, but apart from that, she doesn't want to be a nerd.
So they go to this party. Nancy ends up hooking up with Steve. Barb is sitting all by herself outside, and she gets taken also by the monster.
Justice for Barb.
That's right. And people were upset about this, that Barb was taken and eventually she was not recovered. So there was a whole movement, like a Justice for Barb movement. And we were at Comic-Con the year after Stranger Things, or right after Stranger Things was released.
They were doing their teaser for season 2, I think.
And we were watching the panel, the Stranger Things panel, with all the kids and everybody up on the stage. And they always have people who come up and ask questions. And one of the people who came to ask a question, everybody started freaking out because it was the actress who plays Barb. Her name is Shannon Purser. And everybody's like, oh my God, it's Barb. And they brought Barb up on the panel. And it was fun. It was fun seeing that. I wonder if they're going to do any kind of a shout out to Barb or have Barb show up at the end or something. I mean, it was pretty clear that she was dead, but maybe they could do something in this final season. It'd be nice to see that.
Well, in the Upside, at least see like her spirit escape the Upside Down or something like that, along with Eddie.
So the third Scooby gang who's going to start investigating, because we had the boys and 11, we have Joyce and Hopper. Now we have Nancy, who's trying to figure out what happened to Barb. And Steve is no help in any of this. So she turns to
Jonathan Byers.
Jonathan, who is Will's older brother. And he is kind of a voyeur and was taking pictures secretly from the bushes of this party and got some pictures of Barb and this creature that's behind her in these pictures. And Nancy sees one of the pictures and reaches out to him for assistance to try to figure out what happened to Barb. Now, in the course of things, when everybody's talking about this creature that's taking things, the guys decide, what do they name the creature?
The Demogorgon,
which is from D&D.
Yeah, that was the big bad in their particular D&D campaign.
Right. So that's what's going on. So we have the big bad that is the Demogorgon in the Upside Down. We also have the bad government guys in the lab. And then we have our intrepid crew of Joyce and Hopper, Nancy and Jonathan, Steve in whatever aspect he's in, and then the kids with 11. Other notable characters, there's also Scott Clark, played by Randy Havens, and he is their teacher.
Yes.
And he's great. I love him. He's awesome.
There's a scene towards the end where the kids are trying to put together kind of a do-it-yourself isolation chamber, like with salt water, and they're trying to figure out how much salt to put in there. If they call him up, and he's in the middle of a date, and they're watching a movie.
Yeah, he and his date. I can't remember what they were watching. I think it was a horror movie.
It was an 80s movie.
Yeah.
But and they guilt him into like helping them do the calculations over the phone, while and ignore his date for 15, 20
he's
minutes.
their science teacher, and he's also their advisor for AV Club.
I wish I remembered the line that Dustin used on him. I'm trying to take a walk in my, my mind, something. Anyway, it's really funny.
Drop it in the comments if you remember.
Tony,
But
get to work.
so anyway, at the end of the season, all of these groups come together to confront their various bad guys. There's a huge confrontation at the middle school with the Demogorgon. And then also Joyce and Hopper venture into the Upside Down and, spoilers, rescue Will.
Yeah.
But there's definitely an undertone that all things are not well. We got Will back, but
at the end of that final episode, he hawks up a thing that looks like a slug. But it's clearly like
like
bad stuff.
This bad stuff has not gone away.
Yeah.
So that's season 1. Season 2 is set in October of 1984, and I love that because I love Halloween. We're in Halloween season right now, and it's my favorite.
41 years ago.
So Will's back, but everybody thinks he's kind of a weirdo. He's like zombie boy.
So everyone being like not his core friend group,
right, but everybody at school.
Yeah,
and he's struggling.
Well, he had disappeared, and they thought he was dead the year before. So
right,
he's always been bullied. He's probably of the group. He's probably the one who's least able to kind of take care of him. He's the most fragile of the boys, I think.
So he's having premonitions and seeing this shadowy creature from the Upside Down. Every so often he'll be somewhere and then everything goes dark and it looks like the Upside Down. There's always crap flying around in the air when it's the Upside Down, when there's like lines, and it's so he keeps kind of crossing over into that. And he's seeing this gigantic entity that looks kind of like a spider, I would say.
Yeah.
In the sky, like really big. It's not like the Demogorgon, which was called human size.
It's like the parent of the Demogorgon.
Right. And so what do they name that one?
It's the Mind Flayer.
It's the Mind Flayer.
Yeah, another D&D reference.
And so the Mind Flayer is causing a bunch of weird things to happen in Hawkins. It starts with the pumpkin patch. All the pumpkins are rotting, and then it spreads to the fields around, and there's swarms of these bugs, and all the crops are rotting. So Hopper gets involved with that. And Will is seeing a doctor at the lab.
Played by Paul Reiser.
Again, back to the 80s.
The 80s.
And I like Paul Reiser's character. He's likable, even though,
you had evil government in season 1. Season 2 is a more benevolent government.
Right.
They're trying to kind of fix all the bad stuff that happened in season 1.
Right. But the rift between Hawkins and the Upside Down is still present in the lab.
Yeah.
And there are these things that keep trying to escape, that the kids refer to them as demo dogs.
Yes.
So Will eventually confronts this Mind Flayer when he's in one of his trances.
He gets some really bad advice from Bob Newby.
So tell me about Bob Newby.
Bob Newby is played by our boy
Sean Astin.
Goonie.
We love him.
And
I love his character.
Yes,
he's definitely one of my favorite characters.
Bob Newby, superhero.
He's just amazing.
One of my favorites.
You just want to hug him every time he's on screen. You just want to hug him. He's amazing.
I mean, honestly, he's like one of these boys who grew up.
He is one of these boys.
He was one of the nerds.
He was
the founder of the AV Club.
He was the founder of the AV Club, and he works at Radio Shack now. He's dating Joyce,
and she was the hot girl back in the day.
And he just can't believe that he's so lucky.
Stoked I'm dating the hot girl.
Yeah.
Which is kind of good, kind of sweet and kind of gross at the same time, but, whatever. So, good for him and good for Joyce, because that's a step up from her usual class of
boyfriend. For sure. So, he gives Will some advice to stand up to the Mind Flayer, which he does, and the Mind Flayer ends up possessing Will.
That's a reason why it's usually best for kids to run away from
Yes.
danger.
Yeah. So we've got what's going on with these tunnels underneath Hawkins. The demo dogs are running around. The crops are rotting. The kids go to school dressed as the Ghostbusters. And no one at school is dressed in costume, which is like one of those nightmares you have, right?
I know. They're great costumes too. I mean, they're better than any costume I ever had at that age.
So my favorite character in the series was introduced in this season, and that's Max.
Oh, Mad Max.
I love Max. She's played by Sadie Sink. I don't know why I always like the redheads, but she's a redhead.
I wonder why.
She's the new girl in school. She moved from California. She's much cooler than the guys. She rides a skateboard. She broke all of their scores at the arcade.
That's right.
And her nickname is Mad Max. And a bunch of them are smitten with her immediately.
Well,
Lucas
two of them in particular.
Lucas and Dustin. Both.
Mike's heart is taken.
Right.
And it's a little broken in season 2.
Because Elle disappears at the end of season 1. She's not in the beginning of season 2.
And Will looks like he's not into women anymore.
Right, exactly. So the other two are kind of stalking around and following her around. And she has a big brother, Billy, who's her stepbrother, who's an ass.
He is a great bad guy. He's just he's a bully.
Yeah, he's aggressive. He yells at her. He grabs her arm. He threatens her all the time. He's just a dick. So those are our new cast for this.
He's scary too. Even before he gets possessed, he's fucking scary. Excuse my language.
But what I would say is there's also kind of a redemption arc for one of the characters from season 1. And who is that?
That is our boy King Steve.
Steve in season 2, suddenly you love Steve.
Yeah.
We hated him in season 1. We love Steve in season 2.
At the end of season 1, he actually stepped up and he was very effective against used that bat pretty well against the Demogorgon.
So Steve actually ends up befriending the guys. He and Nancy have broken up.
Well, they break up midway through season 2, I think.
They're not getting along. And
they're a bad match.
Yeah, and Nancy's kind of having a thing with Jonathan, too. But Steve, instead of disappearing, exit stage left, as you would think he would in that.
Becoming resentful and being even more of a bad guy.
He ends up being friends with the kids.
Especially
and
Dustin.
He and Dustin have a whole bromance going. They're awesome.
It's actually great. At the beginning of season 3, Dustin comes back and the other boys are like, yeah, whatever. And then he goes to see Steve and Steve's like,
Yeah, okay. So, basically, the Mind Flayer has all of these shenanigans going on. One of the things that happens also is Dustin finds this little slug thing in his trash, and he thinks it's a pollywog, and puts it in his aquarium at home, and is feeding it, I think, 3 Musketeers bars is
because nougat
the
is
nougat.
Great.
He likes the nougat.
You think that's kind of an ET reference?
Yeah, I think it's definitely got an ET vibe with the Reese's Pieces and stuff. It definitely felt like that. But the slug turns out to be
a demodog.
A demodog who ends up eating their cat, which not cool.
Yeah, that's
not
sad.
Cool.
What was the name of the cat?
Muse.
That's right.
So we have these demodogs running around. We still have the threat from the lab. We've got the Mind Flayer, and now the Mind Flayer is using Will to be a spy for him. He can hear what the kids are talking about. So it's how are we getting the Mind Flayer out of Will and deal with the Mind Flayer threat. And they also enlist the help of Murray Bowman, who...
They get... The actors, they've done a great job casting this because Maury was in the first season too, right?
But he had a bigger role in season 2.
He had a much bigger role in season 2.
And 3.
Which he earned, right?
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah, so he used to be a journalist and now he's a conspiracy theorist. He always thinks the Russians are behind it.
Yeah, he's kind of a
Spoilers, they actually are. He turns out to be right. But he helps them investigate the lab. He's investigating Barb's disappearance. They're still talking about that.
Well, her parents hire him
to try to find Barb. So that's all going on. So it ends with this confrontation with the Mind Flayer and getting the Mind Flayer out of Will. So season 3. Season 3 is my favorite season of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And I think that, that season 1 and season 2 mostly were kind of a sausage party. And season 3, they're bringing some more female energy into this. Not that I didn't enjoy the kids and whatever, but there's a few new characters in season 3 that I really enjoy. And I also love the setting of season 3.
Well, we really get to know Lucas's sister,
Erica.
And she is. So you remember how on the Cosby Show, the little sister Rudy was so sweet? Erica's the opposite.
Erica's
of that.
not sweet. Erica's spicy. She's like our cat. So the main setting of season 3 is not the lab. What is the main setting of season 3?
The mall.
The mall. And how many of us, as women who are nerds over 40, didn't spend a whole hell of a lot of time in the mall in the 80s?
As a man,
the man
who's
too.
A nerd over 40 spent a lot of time at the mall.
The
too.
mall is the main setting
the
of this
women
show.
were at the mall, so the men went to the mall to hope to bump into maybe the women
there
at the
you
mall,
go.
but acting like they weren't doing that.
So the mall is coming to Hawkins. They've opened up this mall. So one of the main themes is the mall is this big project for Carrie Ells, as you said, the mayor, and the rest of the town is hurting because of the mall, because everybody's going and shopping at the mall instead of shopping in the little towns.
The downtown
Joyce
is
works in the pharmacy, and it's hurting. She just sits there all day and nobody's coming in because
the mayor's been kind
of
of bribed to look the other way.
Right. So that's what's going on in the mall. And in the mall is an ice cream parlor called Scoops Ahoy. And who is working at the ice cream parlor?
Our boy Harrington.
Steve Harrington is working at Scoops Ahoy.
Yeah.
And they introduce another new character who I like very much, who is his co-worker at the mall, and her name is Robin.
And she's played by Maya Hawke, which, if you're an 80s fan, that's Ethan Hawke and
Uma Thurman.
Uma Thurman, that's their daughter.
She is a self-affirmed Nepo baby. She has called herself a Nepo baby. She said she never would have gotten the opportunity if not for who her parents were. But I think she's great.
Yeah,
I love Robin.
She, actually, most people you look in a lot of industries, and a lot of them are, it was parental influence that got them into their positions.
So Robin is mouthy. She gives Steve a lot of crap. Our executive producer has arrived on site. But Robin gives Steve a lot of crap. And Steve thinks he's a ladies' man. And he's always trying to hit on these women who are coming in to buy ice cream. And he has no game with them now.
Yeah,
Even though he used to be the big man on campus.
It would be
he's
hard
not
to
anymore.
do well with the ladies wearing that outfit.
Yeah, he's wearing
outfit.
Sailor outfit.
Not like a not like a cool sailor outfit either.
Yeah. And by the way, I did a whole thing. When I used to run my own branch of my company, we used to do a big Halloween thing. And one Halloween, I did Stranger Things. And I turned our office into the Starcourt Mall. I built Will's Castle Byers. I did that. I got an 8-foot blow-up Demogorgon and shoved it up into the skylight like it was coming down from above. And then I did a whole Scoops Ahoy where I had ice cream and all the sundae toppings, and I invited everybody in the building to come down and do that. I had like a bunch of D&D stuff out and whatever. And I went as, do you remember who I was?
Did you go as Robin?
No, I went as Max.
Oh, as Max.
I was Max.
You had a skateboard, didn't you?
I did. Not that I skated on it, but I did have one for props. But anyway, so Robin and Steve are working at Scoops Ahoy. It's summertime. And at one point, Dustin comes back, and Dustin's been at camp. And he comes running in, and Steve comes running out of the back, and they're doing a whole fake lightsaber battle. And
they yell each other's names, and they leap into each other's arms.
Yes, and Robin's like, how many kids are you friends with? Like, who are all these little kids? And Erica, who is Lucas's younger sister, likes ice cream and is always going in there and like busting Steve's chops and whatever.
She wants to get free taste after free taste.
Yes, and she's extremely bratty.
Very precocious.
She's very precocious.
And you know what? The actress is amazing.
She's really, really good.
I've seen kids that age who are cast to be precocious, and you can tell they're faking it. She's Well, hopefully she's just a very fine actress, right?
Yeah.
But she's pretty precocious.
So what else is going on? 11 and Mike are dating now.
Yes.
And Hopper is not enjoying this.
No.
He's having a meltdown about that.
He's a big dumb idiot too. So.
He's not handling it well. Billy is lifeguarding at the pool.
And all the cougars are out.
All the cougars are after him.
He needs to shave his upper lip, though. That's
He's
just
gross.
awful.
So, through a series of events, and I'm not going to retell the whole series, it turns out that underneath the mall is a secret Soviet base where the Russians are trying to open a gate to the Upside Down. And our crew figures this out eventually through a series of hilarious, and they need somebody to climb around in the ducting to get into the area where you can get down into the base. None of them fit, so they talk Erica into doing it, and she strikes a deal with them that they're going to give her free ice cream for life if she does it.
Child endangerment?
Yeah, she calls it Operation Child Endangerment, and she tells them you can't spell America without Erica.
That's right. She's very patriotic.
She is, and mouthy.
Well, and she and Dustin have a great moment in the Russian base, which is where it turns out that she talks all sorts of trash about nerds, but he turns it around on her, with
because she likes
her
My Little
interests
Pony
and her own intelligence, and that you are a nerd. You're one of us.
That's
too.
right. She's one of us. So the Mind Flayer is still around, and the Mind Flayer has a new plan, and he eventually possesses Billy this time, and Billy is helping him abduct people, and they're basically, these people are turning into these kind of like slime things.
He gets absorbed into the Mind Flayer,
and it's creating this. They call it the spider monster, which is this big creature that's made from all of these people who are getting absorbed. So eventually, there's a whole standoff, as there was at the school in the other season. This one's at the mall.
Yes,
and it involves everybody. There's the battle at the mall, and Billy ends up
he
sacrifices himself to save the group. And during this battle, 11 loses her powers.
She overexerts herself, yeah.
Right. And Hopper, it looks like Hopper died.
Yeah, at the end of season 3.
But they do show, right at the end of the season, there's this gulag in Russia where they're bringing people out. They have a Demogorgon there, and they're bringing people out to battle the Demogorgon. And they mention that one of the people in one of these cells is the American. And he turns out to be... Are you playing with that cat? If you're not on video, the cat is sitting very... Well, now it's biting Neil. Yes. But it's supervising Neil.
I can't read my notes.
She is supervising Neil. So anyway, it turns out that Hopper is in this gulag in Russia. And so that brings us to season 4, which is the final season that we've seen so far. It is set in March of 1986. After Hopper's presumed death, Joyce has taken 11. And she's had it. Oh, because also one of the things we didn't mention is Bob Newby ends up dying.
Yeah.
Which is rough. It was horrible.
It's a gut-wrenching scene. But
yeah.
He heroically dies.
He does. He saves everybody. He dies in the lab. So she's upset about that. 11's upset about losing Hopper. They've just had it. So they leave and they move to California and leave the rest of the crew behind. So Jonathan, when he's in California, makes a new friend who is Argyle, who's like this California stoner,
such a stoner
pizza delivery guy who drives everybody around in his pizza van. 11 is having a really rough time because she has lost Hopper and she's also lost her powers. So, and she's kind of dressing like she was dressing cool for a little while after going shopping with Max, and now she's dressing like Joyce is. She's kind of wearing flannels before they were cool and just looks kind of like down and out. She's being bullied at school. So that's what's going on with the California crew. Then back in Hawkins, there's a new monster in the Upside Down. And this one is, they eventually name him Vecna, which I think is also from D&D.
I think so.
Um,
We've only watched the season, I think, once. and
Yeah,
that
we're going to have to rewatch.
Yeah, we're going to have to rewatch it.
And Vecna is going around killing residents in the town. And every time he kills someone, he's opening up a gate between Hawkins and the Upside Down. So he started as a kid. They in flashbacks, they show him. His name was Henry Creel. And he was a very troubled kid who moved to Hawkins in 1959 with his family. He also had psycho and psychokinetic abilities, and he used them basically to torture his family. He eventually killed his mother and his sister, and Dr. Brenner, Papa, who ran the lab, got a hold of him and took him to the lab to study him. And that was the beginning of their child test subjects. He eventually put a chip in Henry to keep him from using his powers. And Henry was working as an orderly with no powers when Eleven was there. Eleven meets Henry when he's working as an orderly and his powers have been suppressed, and he tricks her into removing the chip so that he can get his powers back. And then he goes on a spree and murders everybody in the place. He murders the other test subjects that are there. He murders the people who are working there. And he's going to murder 11. But she overpowers him, and she sends him through a gate into the Upside Down.
Yeah, it kind of turns out that that's what broke open the hole into the Upside Down, was her shoving him out of our reality.
Exactly.
Boy, all the rejections I took in high school were not as bad as that one.
And during his time in the Upside Down, he already had all these evil impulses. He turns into Vecna. So now in our present time, he's targeting teenagers who have some sort of trauma. And his next target is Max because she's been traumatized by the loss of Billy. So,
and do they fall asleep and become vulnerable to him? Is that
yeah?
How?
So it definitely has kind of a
Nightmare on Elm Street,
Street vibe. So we met Eddie. Eddie is the
leader of the Hellfire Club, which he's the DM, the dungeon master, the DM, and he's kind of a larger than life sort of figure, but he is like the king of the nerds in this particular at the school, right? He's not.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that they named him Eddie because of Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah,
he's got that heavy metal. He's got the haircut.
He plays guitar.
Yeah. So I would say that that's probably, I didn't find anything that said that, but in my mind, it's an homage to Eddie Van Halen. That's why they named him Eddie.
That's cool.
So one of the cheerleaders in the school goes to visit Eddie, I think to buy drugs.
Yeah, he's selling, he's dealing something.
And she ends up getting killed by Vecna.
Like in his house or something.
Yeah. And so he's now the prime suspect.
Yeah.
So part of what's going on in this season is Dustin and Max and Lucas are all friends with Eddie. They've joined his D&D group. So they're trying to clear Eddie's name and figure out who actually killed this girl. I think her name is Chrissy. And so that eventually leads them. They pull Nancy and Robin and Steve into this also. And eventually they wind up in the Upside Down. And Eddie, as we alluded to, that scene with the Metallica, is fighting these demo bats by playing Metallica on his guitar.
He's a big distraction.
Right.
Because they're going direct, 11's going directly after Vecna, and they want to get these bats out of the way. So he goes into the Upside Down from his apartment, and he starts playing the lead guitar for Master of Puppets, which is an amazing scene to kind of pull the demo bats.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's the group that's in Hawkins. Then the group that's in California winds up in this facility in Nevada. 11 goes with Dr. Owens to this facility in Nevada to try to regain her powers. And when she's there, they run into Papa also. He's also there, and he's trying to like turn things around, and now she wants to escape. And I think Dr. Owens is assisting her to try to escape.
Yeah.
he's not a totally good guy, but he seems like he's mostly a good guy. And then the Jonathan and his friend Argyle go in the pizza van and go
Yeah.
rescue Eleven. Then the other storyline that's going on that's I felt was kind of weird and didn't completely fit in with the rest of it is Joyce gets a package from Russia containing a doll that reveals that Hopper's alive and imprisoned in this gulag. So she gets a hold of Murray and they fly to Russia to rescue him. So that felt a little off to me.
I wasn't all that wild about the Russian storyline in the previous in season 3. And then season 4, just you got to
they double down on it.
you got to suspend your disbelief because and Hopper is apparently a badass.
Yeah,
I don't know, they're with the Russians in the Heartland. I kept expecting Natasha and Yelena to show up.
I know, right? That would have been good. They could have kicked everybody's ass.
Some Vecna ass, yeah. Oh, and seeing Erica and Yelena go back and forth would have been fun too.
It would have. So they rescue Hopper, bring him back, but they have not killed Vecna. They didn't, and Max gets completely beaten up in their fight with Vecna.
She's in a coma, but they did discover one of the ways to keep Vecna out of your head when you're sleeping is if you have like a song that means something to you playing. So that's where Running Up That Hill comes in because that's her
Max's
favorite song. And what they did is that they just recorded it over and over and over again, and they had it playing on a Walkman.
Right. So the season ends, cliffhanger. Now there are all these massive rifts that have torn through Hawkins. And I think Max's death, because she does die temporarily, they kind of managed to revive her, but she's in a coma, is kind of the last straw to fall. And then there's all these rifts all over the town that look kind of like troughs of lava, and then there's these huge like plumes of smoke that are coming up that are all of this stuff is flying out of the Upside Down, and everybody in town they're explaining it like, oh, there was a massive earthquake or something, but people are trying to evacuate the town. The kids are
interesting scene.
The kids, I think, are holed up in the middle school or the high school looking out at this, and the town is basically being torn apart by Vecna now.
Now, they brought Dustin's girlfriend into it in season 4, right? Didn't they end up at her house at some point?
They did.
In Utah.
Yeah.
I think the Jonathan and the other guy.
Right. Susie.
And she's got an
She has an interesting house.
I gotta watch that season over again.
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah, they were there for something.
Her parents were like, I don't even know.
Yeah, the kids are like feral and running all over the house doing I don't know what.
Yeah, parents are very laissez-faire.
Right. So anyway, that's where they leave us.
Yeah.
The kids are up on a hill and they're looking down at the town just being destroyed basically by Vecna. And we know that the final battle is coming. And that was 2+ years ago? They left us there, hung us out to dry, and then that was that. And we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And now these kids are, Millie Bobby Brown, who plays 11, just got married. She married John Bon Jovi's son. So they're not kids anymore. They're adults now.
No, the pandemic hit at a bad time.
Right.
And then you had the strike, the
writers
and the
strike.
actors strike. So it really kind of stretched it out. And also, I just think that streaming does a poor job. I think they lose momentum.
Yeah, if you watch a network show, it goes on hiatus during the summer and then it's back on in the fall. That's not the way these shows work.
That's something that streaming needs to be better about is if you're going to continue a show, then by God, you need to have it lined up for the next season.
Yeah, don't make us wait 3 years to watch. I feel like you lose a lot of the audience that way too, unless the audience is really hardcore and invested.
So you get a passionate audience for, say, a show that didn't like catch fire like Stranger Things did, but something that still did well enough to get a second season, and then you have to wait 3 years to watch it. then you'll have some people who still remember it and go back to watch it, but a lot of us will have lost the thread by then, unless you are one of those passionate sorts of people. But it's just Netflix, get it together. Apple TV, get it together.
Yeah.
You're probably costing yourself some money by not having these second and third seasons coming up like it should be coming out every year. If you're gonna re-up it, then by God re-up it and get it done.
Film it the way they film network TV.
You know what? I'll bet you there's like some sort of contractual reason. There's a money reason for why they don't do that. Maybe they don't have everyone on contract.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, we are getting the next season finally. We're getting the next season next month. So that's where we were left. We were left up on that hill looking at Hawkins being destroyed, and our gang is back together. Hopper's back. Everybody's back from Nevada. They're all there. So how are we going to deal with this threat from Vecna and the Upside Down? And are we going to be able to save Hawkins and the world at large? That's the question in the next season.
And so your favorite part was season 3, and especially because it revolved so much around the mall and.
Well, yes. I mean, I liked Robin's character.
Yeah, that was a good. They've done some great job adding characters to this, like Robin and Eddie.
Yeah, I liked the vibe. I mean, of all of the seasons, that's the one that felt like the 80s to me. Going to the mall. And I also liked it's 4th of July and they're having a 4th of July carnival. Yeah. Season 4 to me didn't really like the 80s. It was set in the 80s, obviously, but the 80s wasn't really a character in that season as much. We were getting deeper into the lore of what's going on in the Upside Down and the Big Bad and whatever.
But kind of, I think as you got later into the 80s, it got less 80s.
I guess so.
I think music had a different sort of took on a little bit different tone as you got deeper into the 80s. It got more serious, I think, and a little bit less fun. Not that that's a bad thing or anything, but
I like the Scooby Gang aspect of season 3. And as I said, I really like Robin, among other things, is in the marching band, and I always like a character who's in the marching band because that's where I come from. And I like the fact that the way they portrayed her, she's actually cooler than the rest of them.
Even
she's
in
sarcastic
outfit.
She's, but she's like a cool character. And usually the marching band person is like not the cool character, but she is. She actually has a crush on, spoilers, Robin is a lesbian, another girl in the marching band.
Well, she had a grudge against Steve because the girl that she liked was always staring at Steve.
Yeah, the girl that she liked wanted Steve. But I think she's a very interesting character, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed
her friendship with Steve is pretty cool too.
I also enjoyed the Russian thing. Now, I didn't enjoy the Russian thing in season 4, but I remember the Russian scare from the 80s. That was a thing.
Well, I remember the Satanic Panic. You know?
And so that felt legit to me.
Well,
it's the Russians.
How much media centered around us versus the Russians? I mean, you've got Rocky 3.
You've got all the rhetoric from Reagan and all that stuff. I mean, it was a real thing in the 80s. So I thought them being suspicious of the Russians felt true to form for the 80s. And then it turned out to be the Russians. So go figure. So I liked that portion of it. But what was your favorite season?
I have season 1 and season 2 kind of blur together for me.
Okay.
I think that they that they kind of one leads into the other a little bit. I have trouble differentiating between those two. But season 3 was great too. I love the characters and I love seeing the development. This is a perfect example of why streaming is such a great medium, right? Because you do have that long form. I mean, and of course, in this a really long form,
right? 10 years
storytelling.
I mean, when did the first one came out? In 2015,
2016. Because we watched it coming home from Comic-Con 2016.
Mm-hmm.
We were at that funky Glendale Airbnb,
right?
And we had everybody over,
mm-hmm.
and we all watched it together. We had the twins. Kat was there.
That
Joyce
was a great
there.
experience.
It was so much fun.
We're lucky because we have a big group of nerd friends. hopefully some of whom watch our podcast. And we
our group is about 40 people.
yes, it's all our friends, but we get to share our enthusiasms with them. And this is definitely one of the things that Stranger Things is one of the things that kind of across the board with like the nerd peeps, the Comic-Con peeps is
Well,
it's a big deal.
It's all part of that human drive to kind of find your tribe, right?
Yeah.
Find those people who have shared interest and speak the same language. And that, particularly with nerds, we do speak a language. A lot of times it's referential, you know?
Yeah.
And we will say things that my mother-in-law has no idea what I'm saying, you know, what reference I'm making.
One of the things we did during the pandemic, we went down to LA and everybody was still social distancing and whatever. And they did a Stranger Things experience.
That's right.
That you could drive your car through. And it was through multi-level parking lot and whatever. And then you drove up into a parking lot and they had somebody up being 11 up in the sky and whatever. And we took Joyce and her son and her brother to that.
Yeah.
And that was one of our first like actual get out of the house during the pandemic experiences. Right. And that was fun. So
yeah, that was I think that was November of 2020. That was fun.
So it's fun getting to share this stuff with our friends.
But I think that's something that we're kind of losing a little bit is the face to face, you know, that interpersonal, you know, contact because we've got all these devices and everything. But I mean, going to the movies. How great is going to the movies? How devastating would it have been if the pandemic hit a year earlier? And we would have had to watch Endgame, or maybe wait a few years for Endgame to come out, or watch it over streaming. I mean, that would have because we had a great experience watching Endgame.
Well, speaking of the pandemic, I mean, I really feel for my nieces and nephews because they were teenagers or preteens when the pandemic hit, and suddenly they're locked in their house with their parents. And don't get to see their friends and don't get to have these experiences and, you know, don't go to school. And I think that that's kind of, I mean, that's a generation of kids that lost a year to 2 years of their lives of socializing and having experiences and going out for Halloween and all of the things.
Well, I said to you a couple weeks ago that one of the things I miss about being a kid was that a year was a long time. I mean, 2 years out of your life as a kid is an eternity, right? Where you're not going to school, you're not interacting with other people, you're kind of scared of the world a little bit, right? Yeah. That's just that pandemic was a tough time. It was a tough time for all of us, but especially for it wasn't a tough time for me. I love being at home, and I would not see anybody if I wasn't made to. But anyway,
I don't know who makes them,
but for kids. For kids, that's a little, you know, it had to be pretty rough.
Yeah. So anyway, what grade would you give Stranger Things?
Oh, Stranger Things gets an A.
Stranger Things gets an A.
It's a great show, especially I was born in 1972, so I'm probably about the same age as these kids in this show.
I'm probably about Nancy's age.
Probably,
I'm the older sister. I'm the older sister's age.
You know, Ghostbusters was a huge deal for me, for both of us actually as a kid. You know, you watch through this, and it's kind of cool to see a time that you remember through a different lens, a little bit of different perception. Yeah. But it's still you share a lot with those other people's memories. Yeah.
So highly recommend. Can't recommend season 5 because it hasn't come out yet. But honestly, I would recommend doing a rewatch.
If you've listened to this or watched this all the way through, I'm pretty sure you've seen Stranger Things.
You probably have. But I would recommend. I've been enjoying doing our rewatch of Stranger Things. And
you've got a month before the next season drops. So
binge it. It's, you know, that's what these streaming services are for binging. So go for it. You know, if you want to drop us a comment, like and subscribe also.
Yes.
But if you want to drop us a comment, tell us what your favorite season of Stranger Things was and why, or tell us who your favorite character is.
Tell us your favorite song. The favorite song that was used in the show.
My favorite character was Max. How about yours?
You know, I don't know that I have a favorite character. I adore different parts of them so much. I mean, Dustin is consistently...
Yeah, Dustin's a delight.
He's funny. They've given him some great lines, and his delivery is wonderful. I mean, maybe Dustin?
I like Dustin. I like Steve. I loved Bob. You know, I was so upset when they killed Bob. That was really sad.
I mean, I guess I feel probably like if I was one of those characters, it'd probably be more like Jonathan Byers because I always felt awkward and, weird.
I'd probably be Robin.
Yeah.
I'd want to be Max. Yeah, I'd want to be Max, but I'm not cool enough to be Max.
I mean,
I can only pretend I'm Max. I'd probably be Robin.
I don't think I have...
And I'm definitely sarcastic like Robin is.
I don't think I had the creepy sort of factor that Jonathan kind of has, but, I definitely felt that alienation that I think that he has,
So anyway, that's this week's episode. Go watch Stranger Things and get ready. We will be doing a recap of season 5 once it's done.
Are we going to wait till the end, or are we going to do it like piece by piece?
We're probably going to wait till the end.
I don't know. I think we should speculate about where it's going. We can talk about how
Mephisto.
Oh God, you beat me to it.
I know. I know what's in Neil's head. It's scary.
I'm going to make a sweet Mephisto reference.
I stole your
stepped on it.
I stole
she stepped all
We can
over
redo it, and I could edit for content.
I've lost the feeling.
I've taken it from you.
You've broken it.
I've broken you.
Yeah.
Again. Still. Yeah. So speaking of which, our wedding anniversary is in 2 days.
Yeah. 24 years.
24 years.
I'm glad I don't use any of these dates or anything for my passwords. Otherwise,
I just put it out there to all 40 of our viewers.
I talked about what year I was born. It's just all of it. It's
all 40 of our viewers can hack you now.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't actually use any of it, but
That's right.
If I did, I would be screwed.
I'm so sorry.
I mentioned the year that I was born, so it's not just you.
Okay.
Just, we're all putting all this stuff out there, so.
Well, I'm glad that's what the thought of our anniversary brings to your mind.
Yeah,
is, getting hacked.
We're sharing with all of you.
We are sharing. So anyway, next week, as we said, we're going to have Joyce here.
Yes.
So there's going to be a new face in this seat. So tune in. Joyce is a very good friend of ours.
We met her at Comic-Con 2016.
We did. She is also one of the admins in our Nerds Over 40 Facebook group. And if you haven't joined that yet, please check us out. We actually have 25,000 members in that group. So, and there's all sorts of topics that happen in there. So I would recommend it if you haven't checked us out there.
All right, folks. I think we're winding it up.
We are. And until next week, live long and prosper.
Adios, Nerdmigos.